It's day 8 of Shri and Dewani's trial in the Western Cape High Court, and News 24's Roy McKenzie is sitting through proceedings. He's nipped out of the courtroom to join us in studio to speak us through what's happened today so far. Roy, thank you so much.
Hi, Drisha. Yeah.
So, what did we miss today?
Well, the police ballistics expert has taken the stand. He's the only one who's testified so far today. The prosecution started by questioning him on the ballistics tests that were done on the VW Charan, which was the vehicle that Annie was shot in. And there was some foam in court, which was admitted as evidence. And that was taken from the vehicle, which was from the back of the seat. So essentially, they could trace where the trajectory of the bullet went, and so he basically just detailed all of that and the tests that were done and the state's case and how they built it up. So that's how the day started. Yeah.
Are we still focusing on who shot Annie and whether the killer was sitting or standing? Because we know that while Xolile Mngeni, who actually died in prison recently, was the man convicted of pulling the trigger, the defense are trying to prove something different.
Absolutely, and the cross-examination went straight to that point, and that is, the defense advocate Peter Botha, Francois van Zyl not questioning today, is a bit like Herinal. He is right at the witness and really being quite tough on him and poking a lot of holes in the police work. It seems that the police work was quite shoddy, quite badly done. For instance, they used a different vehicle, a different model with different seats in it to reconstruct their tests. So, he's just going at every bit of the state's case like that. Yeah.
Now, before our camera started rolling, you were mentioning to me that measurements were done on Xolile Mngeni the day before he died. Why was he being measured, and what's the significance of the time that he was measured now as opposed to when he committed the crime?
I think what happened is the defense has carried out its own ballistics test. So they've obviously got experts who've come along and done their own examination, which is going to be introduced later. So the prosecution obviously got wind of this and they realized they'd better do some more. So today we watched 3 video clips, which were only filmed last week. And they used a similar type vehicle, and they showed from Peter Engelbrecht, the warrant officer who's on the stand, his understanding of the different options of how the trajectory would have been fired and the position Annie was in and how it would have happened. So they obviously realize that they have to re-examine and retest some of their evidence because it has to stand up in court against the defense's evidence, which, and like you said earlier, the defense is going to argue that it was not Mngeni who fired that trigger, it was Gwabe. So the arm measurement was to see whether somebody sitting in the front passenger seat could lean over and actually make contact with Annie and shoot her. So the length of the arm was quite important because, and today there was a lot of argument about the position of the seat. Was it forward, was it back? And that's why the defense was casting a lot of doubt on the ballistics examination and the tests, because they were saying, well, you had to make sure that the seat was in the same position. And in the car that Annie was shot in, the seat, according to the photos, the seat was quite far forward. Engelbrecht said that the seat was in normal position. So, they're trying very, very hard to cast a lot of doubt on the state's investigation.
And of course, if Mngeni was measured the day before he passed away, we can assume was emaciated, having died of brain cancer. He probably didn't have the same measurements as he would have on the day.
Well, it would probably be minor, but yes, that is a valid question because, it seems a bit odd that now suddenly, they realized that they'd better measure it because the state had argued previously that this is what they're going to introduce, so they thought they'd better go and quickly do that. So it does, it doesn't look good for the state at the moment. There's a lot of holes in their case right now.
Now, I ask you this every time we speak, but how are the families doing?
The same as always, they're there and they're very sullen and stony-faced, and it's, it must be taking its toll on them. Where we were sitting in the media seats today, one of the journalists sitting next to me was right next to Annie's father as he came in, and she asked in a very nice way, how are you doing today? And he kind of smiled in a very resigned kind of, way. He didn't say anything, but you could see by the tone of his side that it can't be easy. And the longer it drags out, I mean, it must be very difficult. Their lives are on hold. They can't do anything. They can't go anywhere. So it's this tedium of coming back to court, hearing evidence which can't be easy. I mean, it was all about the position that Annie was in when she was shot. That's your daughter. You imagine how difficult it is to hear that.
And we know that in Oscar Pistorius' case, Riva was shot in February of 2013, and as we sit in October 2014, Pistorius is in jail, whereas the Hindosha family lost a daughter in 2010.
So it's 4 years, essentially. Next month is 4 years. So for them, it's been a very difficult thing, and closure, you can only really get it when the case is wrapped up and finished, and regardless of what the verdict will be, you can then start moving on. And I think, especially for Riva's family, that's what they expressed yesterday, and one hopes for the Ndocha family they can also move on once they finally get closure following this trial.
That's News 24's Roy McKenzie. He's in proceedings, and you can follow him on Twitter. For all the latest Dewani video news, stay tuned to News 24 Live.